Oh! Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Parker. I am an alcoholic. I am using the riser because this takes a lot of work. Tell you, I don't ever take that for granted. I've been sober since October the 28th of 1984. And I got sober at 26 years old. I am 55 years old today, and I got to tell you, it's been a wonderful life. I am so honored to be here. Most of you heard my husband last night. Didn't he do a wonderful job? Yeah. Oh, it is spicy in our house, let me tell you. You probably picked up on his sobriety date. It's March 22nd of 85. That makes me 5.5 months longer sober than he is. And people say time doesn't matter. It damn sure does. And, in our house, sometimes he's struggling a little bit. I always tell him, honey, in about 5.5 months, it'll make more sense to you. Just hang in there, baby. Hang in there. Trust me. One of the things about Charlie and I, we like to have a lot of fun. We are very, very passionate about Alcoholics Anonymous. I hope you are too. I'm assuming this group, I told him last night, I said, the group just had that energy I love. That's not the case everywhere. We get the privilege of traveling a lot of places. I have been to some places that were dead. It's heartbreaking. And there's actually people in this room that are not laughing. I picked you out last night. I know who you are. And that's what I look for. I look for the guy that's not laughing. See, God gave me a gift just like he gave you, right? My primary purpose is to help another alcoholic. So I got to keep my eyes open all the time for people who are hurting. I have a sponsor. My sponsor has a sponsor. I use my sponsor. I work the steps. I've gone through Alcoholics Anonymous. In 28 years, I've done everything you can do in Alcoholics Anonymous, right and wrong. I think there are wrong ways to do it. It's okay to say that. I've certainly done them. And you'll hear through my story some of the damage that those things did. See, I'm an extreme example of self-will run riot, though I usually don't think so. Now, the rest of the world, I encourage you to do one thing today. When you're talking to somebody, now granted, we're amongst like-minded, self-centered people, so we won't notice it as much. But when you're out in the real world, look for when you're talking to somebody, look for this reaction. That's all you got to look for. You'll get it a lot during the day, and you're like, God dang, okay. That little chick from Texas had something to talk about, man. And I'm telling you, it is amazing when we wake up the level of self-centeredness that we are. And that's one of the things that I didn't get. I want to, first of all, before I forget, I always forget to thank the committee. I'm just so ready to talk about me. I know, thank you, committee. Okay, that's enough. The truth of the matter is it does take a lot of work, and thank you, everyone that had something to do with this. Yeah. Okay, enough of that. My home group is the primary purpose group. We do study the book line by line, word by word, every week, and we're 7.5 years into this meeting that Charlie and I chair, and it's spectacular. We have 225 people in Austin, Texas, studying the big book. I mean, that's unbelievable. There was a time in my recovery that I would not have gone to a big book study. You know why? I want to talk about me. I want to talk about me. I wanted open discussion. I wanted the chairperson to say, does anybody have a topic? I mean, that was what I longed for. And that's what I thought it was all about. So how do you know what you don't know? And here's the beauty. I mean, I stayed sober. But throughout my life, what I begin to realize, now I've been sober a while. My kids are all grown. We have grandchildren. Oh, my God. How many of y'all have grandbabies? Oh, God's do-over. Are they not? For the drunk, they are God's do-over. And we have 3 grandchildren, and my oldest is crazy about me. And he'll say, his name is Max, he's 6, and he'll say, Graham, can I have a popsicle before dinner? I'm like, have 5. I don't care. Run with the scissors. Watch SpongeBob all day. And what is a SpongeBob? You know what I mean? What happened to the Wile E. Coyote? I swear, you look at that and you're like going, what, is that a sponge? Okay. Whatever. But I just absolutely love the grandkids. And you know, one of the things I love about what the book says, it says the most satisfying years of my existence lie ahead. And as Charlie likes to say, lay your own experience up against that. If you cannot answer yes to that question, are we waving? Hello? They're right over here. The meeting started at 10. Yo. Yeah. And if you got a Starbucks in your hand, you're in real trouble. You know what I'm saying? Don't you always love when somebody makes it? Yeah. Oh, trust me, I love them. I know. I tell you. Now, when I'm late, I've got a really good excuse. But the most satisfying years of my existence lie ahead, right? And it's important to lay your own experience up against that. Are these the most satisfying years of your experience? If they're not, sit up, take notice. There is a solution. We've got a book that says there is a solution. How can we achieve that? See, in Alcoholics Anonymous, I think we become complacent that fast. We get comfortable. The minute I feel good, I don't need to do that. I mean, I don't really like them, but it's no big deal. I'm feeling really good. Evening review, whatever. Prayer and meditation, like Charlie said, the back of the toilet. Right? Done. Checked off the list. Hand on the door, let the games begin. And that's what I can tend to do. And I can do that in the middle of a big book study. See, I'm not protected by the big book. It's a program of action. These are all things you know, I know. This isn't new information to most of us. How many in this room have under a year sober? Yeah, see, it's not that many. That's welcome. Welcome. And we love you. But my story is talking to the guy with time. See, most of these conventions don't bring the new guy. Matter of fact, it scares the dickens out of the new guy. The new guy's scared to death just to get to an AA meeting that's got, 15 people in it. But at these conferences, we tend to have people with time. That's the heart of it. We call it middle management. And I have been in middle management to where I was dying on the vine in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I like to talk about current situations. See, I've learned today that I am the vessel to get you connected to the power. You are the vessel to get you connected to the power. And if I forget that, then I am in deep, deep trouble. Every answer to every problem I have is in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm telling you, there was a time I did not believe that. Charlie said, I love this group. They clap. I forget about that. Go ahead. Let me say it again. Let's do a do-over. Okay. Every answer to every problem is in the big book of Alcoholics. Whoa! And I got to tell you, there was a time where I'd hear that and I'd think, whatever. I got big problems. I got big stuff. I'm going to a counselor. See, I love counseling. Don't get me wrong. It's an honor and a privilege. But I love to talk about me. And you know what? They talk about me. And they seem to take my side. I love that part too. But I'm a fan of counseling. Don't hear that wrong. As a matter of fact, if you come up and debate in the receiving line, if you didn't like something I said, please keep it to yourself. Because the truth of the matter is this is my story. This is my experience, right? I'm not up here to debate what your experience is. As a matter of fact, rock on. That's the beauty of life. That's the beauty of Alcoholics Anonymous. Thank God we have no leaders. Right? I mean, we are a group of people that come together. I love where it says that we have that common peril. And that's what the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous is. Man, we are all in the lifeboat. There's no fighting in the lifeboat. And boy, in Alcoholics Anonymous, the other thing we do, instead of doing a firing line, we do a circle. We start picking each other off. Right? It's like you. How many of you guys have sat at a meeting, it's like, oh, there goes Big Head Doug. Tugboat Tim's got to share the same crap he always has. And I'm telling you, I love the line that says, as ex-problem drinkers, our very lives depend upon the constant thought of others and how I may meet their needs. That's on page 20. I remember reading that thinking, what? No. And the truth of the matter is it says as a matter of fact, let me read this one line. I don't normally bring this up so quickly. because I haven't talked about Ron yet. Oh my God, do I need to talk about Ron? It says most of us sense, now check this out, page 19, waste no time. Most of us sense the real tolerance of other people's shortcomings and viewpoints, which means the guy that bugs me. I'm going to put that in 2013 terms. And a respect for his opinion are attitudes which make us more useful to others. So you're telling me that Big Head Doug and Tugboat Tim are valuable to me? How? Because, see, I always thought tolerance meant this. Whatever. And what I realize is it's a respect for where you are. It's a respect for me to see that I can very easily be there and probably am on some level, right? Everyone is always a mirror to me. And that's what I've got to constantly look at, because without God's power, without me being connected to this power, I am a train wreck. I am in constant collision with somebody or something, even though my motive is good. You see, when you do something wrong, I'm disgusted. But when I do it, let me explain to you why. See, trust me, I got a good reason why that happened. And that's what the book's constantly talking about. Oh my God, my hair in this weather. I swear to God, I put a rat tease on this thing like 1960. I mean, it was like, woo! And I came out and I told Charlie, should I just leave it like this? By the time the weather hits it, it'll be flat at the end of this deal. I tried to run my fingers through it. It was like, oh, that's right. We teased and sprayed the crap out of that thing, man. This weather does not do well with ironed hair. Okay. Let me tell you real quick about Ron, our host. God love him. Oh, my God. What a jewel these two are. Now, I'm assuming most of y'all know their history, right? They've been married 19 years or together 19 years? Together. It was hard to get the straight story from Ron. And so around the barn, and here we go again, and around the barn. I love with an alcoholic, you can ask an alcoholic if they're married. That is a yes or no question. Not with us. We start out with the story. Well, oh yeah, I love it. And I said to Ron, because Danielle wasn't there, and I said, are you married? Because I wasn't sure. You know, you never know. And he goes, well, and when he laid out the storyline, see, to them, you know, the alcoholic, to the alcoholic, it's the only normal life, right? We're outright mental defects, full flight from reality, cannot differentiate the true from the false. Our alcoholic life is the only one we know. That storyline would shock most people. It even shocked me. I'm standing there going, damn. And Charlie goes, I'm going to go get the luggage. I thought, good, because I'm going to take hold of this guy right now. Woo! And I mean, before you know it, this is the look on Ron's face. I am like a dog on a bone. I mean to tell you, I am going, okay, so when you had this much time and you relapsed and you had this much time and you relapsed, I don't need to know the storyline. See, I'm armed with the facts about myself, yes? I understand what the book says. You can see somebody on their way to a relapse long before they relapse, yes? Oh my God, then what the heck are we doing not trying to throw them a lifeline? You know, in Alcoholics Anonymous, we become so politically correct. We're so afraid of hurting their feelings. Well, I'm not. I just met the guy. Jesus, get in the boat. Get in the boat. In the boat. Oh, yeah, man. I'm like, and I swear at one point he's like, I'm in the boat. I'm in the boat. Oh, and you know, all these, you can listen and you can hear a couple of statements that are alarming. And at that point, what is my job? Not to pat him on the back. Keep coming back, dude. It might all work. I'm not going, do a 10-step with me. Let's try some inventory. Let's figure out how to get you on block so I can get you connected. See, God, Mark was an agent. Mark Houston was literally got us in the boat. Charlie and I were just that far from death. And we didn't know it. See, that's the tricky thing about alcoholism. I didn't know that. Matter of fact, I had so much ego and pride with that much time. See, that's what happens to us. The ego of the alcoholic rebuilds at an astonishing rate. Astonishing. That's one doctor that watched one AA meeting. That was his opinion. I'm not going to quote his name because I'm terrible at that stuff. But what's his name, honey? Harry Tebow. Mr. T-Bone. And so, one AA meeting, he picked up on that the ego of the alcoholic rebuilds at an astonishing rate. Well, you get somebody with 10 years, you can't tell me nothing. See, I had 17 years. You couldn't tell me nothing. And see, that's the tricky part of this disease, man. I have always got to remain teachable. Well, let me tell you, I am only teachable because of the pain I've been in. That's what makes me teachable. I have lived in those bedevilments in my alcoholism, in those 28 years. I lived in those things for 18 months. Well, I got to tell you my story. Okay. So, oh my God, you guys have a lot of dogs at your airport, by the way, drug dogs. Are any of you guys that have been sober over 20 years grateful that dog wasn't there 20 years ago? Oh my God, I look at that dog and I swear I just look at the guy holding him. I'm like, don't be sniffing my crotch. Stay away from my crotch. I swear. I mean, there was a time that we were transporting everything through the airport. Could you imagine just walking in and you're going to make your connection. You're already anxious and you walk in and there's 4 dogs and you're like, I'm like, pew! I'm out of there. Boy, I'm not hanging around. I also had something else that was very interesting. First of all, I did not realize, I don't feel like I'm in Alabama. I didn't even know Alabama was on the water. When did they do that? And, I am so geographically challenged. I paid no attention in school. And I'm not kidding when I mean it. I swear in the 6th grade it was like this. Alabama? On the water? Shut up. I swear, you could bet me $1,000. True or false? Is Alabama on the water? False. It's somewhere there, but it's not on the water. Oh my God, it's beautiful here. Now, you would think the tip would be Gulf Shores. See, those didn't work for me. And we're staying right by the Pink Pony. Who drank there? Oh, I'd have drank there. I'm telling you, just the name. It kind of vibrates. There you go. The Pink Pony. And then Ron said, naked people right out there. I'm like, I'm in. In the 80s, you could get naked. It didn't matter in the 80s. Now it's a whole nother ball game. Okay, I'm about 20 minutes into this deal. I got to get into my story. So, the thing about alcoholism that I didn't understand, my husband does the best job I have ever heard on a first step experience. He explains the disease of alcoholism like I've never heard before. As we say, we are fans of the tapers. Thank God for Terry and them. That is tireless work. Please support the tapers always. We need them to continue. And in this day and age, they can phase out if we do not continue to support what we know we need to support. And one of the things that I love about them is you get to hear these stories and you get to understand what's going on. And Charlie's first step to me was so powerful when it started coming together, because I also sat in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous saying I was alcoholic, never understanding the allergy and the obsession, never understanding the phenomenon of craving. I just knew when I drank I couldn't stop. See, when I start, I can't stop, and I can't stop starting. I get that. But I couldn't explain that to you. I could not transmit that to you. And that's my job. I need to understand this deal. And so I'd listen to Charlie's tape over and over and over again. I'd see where he'd quote the doctor's opinion. I'd see where he'd do this. Then all of a sudden I get the new guy, and then you see their eyes light up. And I saw the magic begin to happen. And that's what I had to do. I had to sit down and say at 17 years, I did not know how to sponsor the new guy. Matter of fact, I preferred somebody to ask me to sponsor him that had time. Because, see, when I got sober, I did a tremendous amount of codependency recovery therapy. It was the 80s, for God's sakes. How many of y'all did it? Yeah, there you go. You're in the room. You know your inner child needs loving. And, the worst words to ever give an alcoholic is to, nurture your inner child. But that's what we were doing back then. How do you know what you don't know? Well, one of the things about me as a kid, I had no idea I suffered from alcoholism, right? I knew as a kid I felt different. I needed to excel in everything just to become on the playing field with you. I'm an extremely outgoing personality. My life is a parade. Everywhere I go, it's a parade. I look people in the eye. Hey. I could be the mayor or the Goodwill ambassador. I could be the Hells Angels, hot chick. Whatever you need me to be, I can be it. And one of the things that I just absolutely did not get was that all my life I was driven. See, and when I took my first drink, it did for me what nothing else had ever done. I didn't know that was happening at the time. I just knew it felt great. And I'm third born, right? We were born in the 50s. Me, my sister, and my brother were all 2 years apart. That's what you did. We're good Catholics. God almighty, thank God we got birth control today. But, woo! Boy, I'm telling you, let's just take a moment to think about that. It's a good world out there. But all of a sudden, at 8 years old, my mother gets very, very sick and dies. Just up and dies. It was terrible. We were upper middle America. And I was the outgoing kid, man. I was the funny one in the family. That's just what I did. And my father panicked. He was actually an ex-football player, played for the Steelers one year. He's mainly known for the Miami Hurricanes. Bill Ostermeller, and I just absolutely crazy about my dad. But he panicked when my mother died, and he remarried 3 times in an 18-month period. Yeah, it was the 60s. You could do that. Now, well, you can do that today, but it'll get you excommunicated from your church real quickly, And that happened, and I didn't understand any of that stuff. But my dad had a wife in the house in 6 weeks after my mother died. And she lasted a weekend. There you have it. And then she's out of the house. Then another one comes in. She doesn't last long. She's out of the house. Another one comes in. And we had 4 live-in housekeepers. Now, I would have swore to God to you that that's what made me alcoholic. I believed something had to make me alcoholic. I didn't understand that this is a genetic bullet. I didn't understand that my children's children may have it. I didn't get any of that. I did not understand the disease of alcoholism. And so I'm sitting there thinking, when I come into Alcoholics Anonymous, if you lived through what I lived through, you'd need a drink too. And that's what I thought. And I thought that for a long, long time. I really did not get what it meant to be alcoholic. I wasn't big about studying the book. And I really think the new guy, when he starts to really read the book, he still is a little out there, in that fog land. It needs to be taught to you. Well, one of the things is, when I was a kid, I started drinking at about 12. And it was way easier to get outside issues. Are you with me on that one at 12 years old? I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. But I'm respectful of singleness purpose, with the exception of that one moment I had. But forgive me. So what we used to have to do is we'd sit in front of the 7-Eleven, right? Me and 2 other girls on our bicycles, right? We had the little Schwinn. And you guys know this. You're waiting for the creepy guy. Yeah, you wait for creepy guy to pull up. You peg him. And then you ask creepy guy if he'll buy you some booze. And this is creepy guy. Oh, yeah. See, we were 12, but we weren't Girl Scout 12. We were well-seasoned at 12. And so the guy, he was probably about 30. He seemed 100, but he was probably about 30. And he'd go in there and he'd buy the booze and he'd come back out. And this is the part I love. See, we knew, creepy guy, we had to lose him. That's what our job was. We are to lose. I love to look at the women on this one. They're all like, oh, yeah, God, I hadn't thought about that in a long time. Yeah. And so our job was to lose creepy guy. Now, creepy guy was thinking he was lucky, right? And so we go straight for the woods, straight for the trails. Man, we're on that Schwinn. The booze is bouncing. And, looking back. We've lost him. Thank God. Now, let me tell you 2 things about that story. First of all, creepy guy is in the room. You know who you are. Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, the only tricky thing about that is I also know who you are. Because By nature, we women have an innate sense of a creepy guy. Yeah. We got to feel for the guy who's watching too much porn. You can just, you got this going on. You're like, dude, yo, I don't know where you are, but snap out of it. And so we women have this innate sense. That's what we've been given because we can't fight, right? We can't physically, I mean, I can, but, we can't physically fight you. And so we've been given this innate sense. But let me tell you something about women. What ends up happening, now this is a little 12-year-old girl. I suffer from the disease of alcoholism. The way self manifests for me is when I get scared, I take a step forward. Not all women in Alcoholics Anonymous are like that. But the bottom line is I can use my sex powers to get whatever I need. And my sex powers do not mean we are sleeping together. Trust me. I can use my sex powers and I know it ain't going to happen. But you don't know that. See, I know that. See, I'm running the show in that. So when I come into Alcoholics Anonymous and I'm a woman, I'm still the same little 12-year-old girl who was running the show at the 7-Eleven. You take away booze, my sex powers rise right there. And I know what I'm doing. And for some reason, we seem to blame the boys in Alcoholics Anonymous for taking advantage of us. Boy, honey, they are a clapping crowd. And let me tell you something. There are some predators in Alcoholics Anonymous. I hadn't really met you, but I seem to scare the dickens out of you, so you stay away from me. But and I've been in 28 years. Now, I can see some creepy guys. Creepy, yeah. Predator, I hadn't seen them yet. And I know they're here. Don't get me wrong. I'm not downplaying that. But all I'm saying is when that girl walks in, the prettier she is, the more we women have got to step up to the plate and snatch her up. Because what she's going to do is she's going to go to a boy, and the boy, who's going to be sometimes with a good intention, I know, and then she's going to say, I just don't like women. Oh, that line makes me crazy. That's line number 1, boys. Learn it. It's a lie. And I don't like girls. Don't you worry, honey. We'll keep the bad guys off of you. And she's working her number. You need to say, you know what? I understand that. Come here. Let me introduce you to Maggie. Yeah, she'll take care of you. Hey, bye-bye. And that's what really needs to happen. Because you can be too rich, too pretty, and too smart not to get this deal. Very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. So don't lose sight of the fact, guys, that remember that I love page 69 and 70. It talks about our sex powers. That doesn't mean the actual act of. That means what I do with my sex powers. I said this story one time, and a woman came up to me in the receiving line. She goes, I hadn't thought about this forever, but in the 5th grade, there was a nerd in school. Nobody'd ever talked to him. And she says, but he would never eat his dessert, and I'd go over there, and I'd just sweet talk that dessert right out of him. That's what I'm talking about. See, if all of a sudden you're the guy in AA that's really just boring, don't really care much for you, you don't have a lot of game, you don't have much to offer, but you got a pickup truck. And I'm getting ready to need to move next week. So, I was the homecoming queen, so I can, voted most likable 4 years in a row. I can get that truck out of you for a day or two and probably get some labor out of you too. Well, one of the things, guys, when my mom died and my dad remarried, one of the deals that I understand today is that did not make me alcoholic. But let me tell you what it did do. It influenced my old ideas. At that point in life, that shift, I had no idea that what was going into my mind was the way life comes at you. The excommunication of the church, the women coming through the house, the way they treated us, the loss of my dad's attention to those women. I'm over there as a kid just taking all this in. That's what we do, alcoholic or not, but it doesn't matter. I'm never trying to be normal. Book tells me I will not be normal. I always hate when people argue with you. Well, that's what everybody thinks. Well, I don't care what everybody thinks. We're alcoholic. This is a fatal illness we suffer from. We don't suffer from a life problem. We suffer from a fatal illness. I'm not a life coach. I'm trying to save your life. My sponsor's trying to save my life. She's got my best interest. And where do my old ideas come up, right? It says that we have to let go of our old ideas. Absolutely. The result was nil. See, I don't even know they're my old ideas that are driving me. unless I put pen to paper. Period. That's the only way I find them. I mean, my sponsor and I can do a 10-step, and she can sometimes verbally say it. But, man, we got to dig. It's like Charlie said, that inventory process. Wait, you guys know. You've listened to enough 5th steps. The power of God that works through you, right? You're sitting there doing a 5th step, and you're just like blown away by what you're saying. Would you want to tell somebody, go, okay, that's the last one you ever need to do. Bye-bye. What? That was so powerful. That's where God was really speaking. Too bad. Don't do it again. Don't write inventory but one time. Where in the world we came up with that? The book says to continue to take personal inventory. Well, I can tell you when my trouble gets deep, I got to be the one that knows I need to write it. Marty, my sponsor can give me relief, but unless I feel that freedom, forget it, man. I'll call her back, go, Marty, I'm still, 20 minutes later, I was back pissed off at that person. Write it down, Katie. I'll be ready in about 15 minutes. It takes me 15 minutes to write it on one person. She takes her 30 minutes to dig it down deep enough to see what my old idea is, so I got something to take to God in 6. See, until it becomes objectionable to me, I can't take something to God that I don't even know I have. And if you tell me I'm selfish and self-centered, duh, pass that. Tell me I'm self-righteous, self-pity, duh, pass that. I'm 28 years sober. This doesn't affect me. I need for you to tell me how I show up. What happens to Katie when she gets hurt, threatened, or interfered with? It happens like this, guys. Boom. How many of y'all this weekend, somebody said, hey, did you talk to Mary? No. Ooh. What? Ooh, what? And your mind just goes. Now, how about this? How about the guy in AA that doesn't really care much for you and you don't care much for him? He walks in, he looks at you, and he goes, hey, what the hell was that about? And then you can't even hear my talk. You're still at the. That's all it took. See, when it says selfishness and self-centered, that we think is the root of our problem. We are driven by 100 forms of fear. Driven, I'm not choosing to act this way. I don't care if you got 28 years or 48 years. You got the same thing. My experience says we can't get rid of this without His aid. The word rid means to be free of. The bondage of self. Book says being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with God today. See, I can't make conscious contact last week and think I'm going to keep it today. Today. Oh, no, I'm still inexperienced. Yeah, you scare me. I suffer from a fatal illness. Complacency is comfortable. And I don't want to do prayer and meditate. I don't have time. I go to church on Sunday. Should be enough. I read a spiritual line. And that's what I'm talking about, guys. Oh, God, I'm all over the place today. Y'all are fun, though. Trust me. I mean, you are an enthusiastic group, so I'm just going to let God speak through me instead of me running the show. Okay. That sounds so humble, doesn't it? But let me get sober. Because the truth of the matter is I don't even talk about my drinking. It's incomprehensible demoralization. Pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization. I don't want to share that with you. And I don't want my children to hear it. You know what? They know enough. I don't want to be dead and my kids listen to my CDs and be devastated over my life. That's my deal. But I can tell you, I got sober. I had a 5-year-old child. Absolutely beautiful kid, right? I drugged that poor little girl through places she never needed to be. I was the kind of kid who cheated all the way through school. I'm constantly working an angle. I left home at 15. You know why? I was a pain in the ass. That's what happens to a 15-year-old kid. My parents did not kick me out. They were done. They could not take me. That extreme example of self-will, run right, go. See, I thought they didn't love me. More old ideas. I cheated my way through school. And let me tell you something. I'm talking cheated to where I would have never guessed Alabama is on the water. Okay? I don't know who the presidents were, and I don't care. I don't want to sit and listen to politics. I don't even like Bob Dylan, if you really want the truth. But the truth, I know, it's blasphemy, isn't it? But the truth of the matter is these things don't do anything for me. I'm so self-centered, I like to do anything I like to do. Charlie and I were driving by a college one time, and he comes from a whole school of educators, and he looks over there and he goes, God, isn't that that college just beautiful. And I thought, looks like a prison. I got no desire to ever enter into there. And one of the things, and thank God for the inventory process, guys, because one time I spoke with 7 other speakers that I admire greatly, and everyone but me went back to college. Now, sometimes the new guy hears that that's a kidney transplant right there happening. So what the new guy may think is that he needs to go back to college, and he may need to go back to college. I will not be the arbiter of that, right? My sponsor's not going to be the one that says you need to buy that car, you need to be with that guy, you need to go back to college. Absolutely not. She's going to get me connected to the power is going to talk to me. See, and I can tell you today that I absolutely never needed to go back to college. But I cheated my way through school because I needed to get that diploma to prove to you that I wasn't stupid. See, and now what I would have done is I would have gone back to college to prove to you that I'm not stupid, when in fact that would have been 4 years out of my life. And I'm telling you, I watch more people go to college that are later in life. They have a family, and what's the first thing they give up? Alcoholics Anonymous. It becomes too much work to do it all. I've got 3 doing it right now. Some of my best soldiers. Had to do it. Well, fine. Let's see what happens. Stay in the lifeboat. And so I ended up, I was self-employed, and I was a very successful fitness instructor. Fitness doesn't take too much brain power, you know what I mean? Meathead in the gym. But I'm telling you, it was amazing. But the best part of this deal is that I, for 18 years, traveled the world speaking on marketing with no degree. See, I always knew I wasn't stupid. But my life depends on what you think about me. And I would have done that. So inventory showed me that that's not what this was about for me. As a matter of fact, it really rears its ugly green head from time to time. I've learned to kind of blend with people, and they don't know how poorly educated I am. And if it bothered me bad enough, I'd do it. I'd read a book. Why? I don't mind a smut novel or a mystery, but I'm not going to see Lincoln. Who wants to go see that? I know how it ended, okay? I didn't even want to go see the Titanic, for God's sakes. And I'm from a family of educators, right? Charlie's family, that whole 42-year school teacher. And what those people like is museums. Oh, my God. Put a bullet in my head. I swear to God, I'm like the 12-year-old kid going, you read a little card, you take 2 steps, you read another little card, you look at the little sword. Oh, my God almighty. I went to Rome and got to go to the Pope's pad. Oh, my God, there's 9,000 tapestries. They all look alike. They all look dirty. You know what I mean? There's dead popes everywhere. And we go down to the 16th chapel. You need to say that correctly. And, to me, I'd rather be at a bistro watching people. That's how shallow I am in that arena. And that's just okay. It's not a big deal. Although I will tell you, a guy from Norway came to our meeting one time, and there's another sponsee and it's like Dumb and Dumber. And, oh my God, she's an absolute mirror of my education. And, she says to me, is he from Norwegia? And, yeah. And I looked at her, I said, silly, he is Norwegian. And I swear to God, everybody's standing there, they're like, once again, there's that look. And Charlie, I love it. He really thinks he's going to make me cultured. He really does. He really does. And he's not. And I'll say to him, honey, how do you spell something? He'll go, well, let's sound it out. See, those are fighting words. But, so there's my soapboxes, and the reason I say that is so important is because, see, I don't want my sponsor to tell me what I need to do. She needs to share her experience, tie it back into the book, and send me to go to God with it. See, I don't know if you're supposed to move. Doesn't look like a good plan to me. But I don't know what God's got planned for you. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, okay, good enough for that. So now I fall in, I meet a boy, and I chase him into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, people always say, you can't get sober for anybody else. Bullshit. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Yeah, I've now cussed 3 times if you're taking notes out there. And yes, you can. Now, it will not sustain sobriety. But you darn sure can get somewhere with it, right? I chased this boy into Alcoholics Anonymous. This was the best part. He had 6 years sober, and he was a big book guy. And he knew that being with a new girl that had 10 minutes sober was not good, right? His values, I love that line in the 4-step. A business cannot fool themselves about value. See, you start fooling yourself about your values, you're going to have some problems. You don't have to live up to my values. You got to live up to your values. See, and so Joe's saying, Katie, this is all wrong. And remember, you take away the booze. My sex powers have come up. I'm like this. No. Come into my vortex. And we women know what that looks like. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that hook is set, baby. See, and you got no idea the hook is set. I do. I know that. Reeled him right in. And I tell you what, I absolutely fell in love with the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Makes me just want to cry. I swear to God, I'd be lost without the fellowship. I'd be lost without you guys. I absolutely love the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. You are my tribe, man. You are my people. I did the whole church thing. Don't get me wrong, man. I'm all for whatever spiritual needs you need. Those are not my people. My people are right here in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I absolutely love you. I connect on a level that I don't connect anywhere. And so I loved the laughter. I loved everything. And that was back in the day, right? 1984, where I didn't hand somebody my phone number. They took my number. There were no cell phones. You had to be at the house by the corded phone, man. And I mean, they were calling me like crazy. Those women took me in like nobody's business. And I thought I was pretty. And so, you know what I mean? They took the pretty girl in. And they didn't doubt that or anything. They took me to coffee, get in the car, get in the car, get in the car. I don't see that happening all the time in Alcoholics Anonymous today. I swear, one time when I was hurting bad at 15 years sober, I was at what I called my home group. Of course, I never went to a group conscience. I just went to the group. So that's my home group. You know what I mean? And I stopped somebody. I said, man, I'm not doing very well. And the girl goes, do you need to talk? And I said, yeah. And her cell phone rang. And she goes, hey, hello. I'm like, oh, my God, I'm dying over here. Then I turned to somebody else. I told them I needed some help. They said, I'm sorry, I got to go. And I'm like, wow. I'm lost in my old ideas that people in Alcoholics Anonymous are supposed to help each other. We're the most self-centered group of people ever. You know what I mean? And I mean, this is all very, very, very hard, right? Swallowing and digesting large chunks of truth about myself. But I always tell myself I go to a meeting and I look for that guy that's not laughing. See, I sit in a room, and the one thing I do is while we're all talking in an open discussion meeting, I look for the guy who's in tremendous pain. I say guy. I go look for the girls, but sometimes I'll get a guy. I won't sponsor him, but I'll sure walk over there, and then it's like, Charlie, this guy right here. And my job is, or somebody shares in a meeting, this is something that they do. Don't you love that one? Like Horseshack. And then after about 3 times of raising your hand, you don't get called on, you just go, Katie, alcoholic. Ha ha. Got the floor, don't I? And all of a sudden the guy's saying, you know, something like, man, I hate my boss. You know, I hate my job. I hate my boss. That's a pretty common thing to happen in the rooms. What is my job? Tolerance? Or is my job to go over there to him at the end of the meeting and say, man, dude, you sound like you're hurting. I hate my boss. That's what I heard. Have you got a few minutes? I'd like to talk to you out back. Sure. So we go out back, and I say, hey, you got a piece of paper and pencil? Let's write a 4-column inventory on that boss real quick. See, I'm not worried about what his sponsor thinks. Matter of fact, if you're a good sponsor, you'll appreciate what I'm doing, right? God almighty, he's a pain in the neck. Take him. Jesus. Somebody give him a message. He's making me crazy. And it's amazing what will happen at that moment in 20 minutes. See, I don't want to talk about your boss. I want you to put it on paper. Magic happens. God works through me like crazy. He works through me without paper too, but I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. Well, one of the things is when Charlie said last night that I worked a program based on the abstinence of alcohol, this is what I thought. See, I thought alcohol caused my alcoholism. Alcohol treats alcoholism. You take away the alcohol, and I have the disease of alcoholism, and without the 12 steps, circular, working at all times in my life, I'm not treating my alcoholism. So what I was doing is I was living on an experience I had when I first came into Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm coming to the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous thinking that meetings treat alcoholism. It shows me right there that it doesn't treat alcoholism. Keep me in the center, I'm safer. But it is merely one side of the triangle. The recovery is the foundation that I must have. These 12 steps, I can tell you what, at 15 years sober, I wasn't reading my book. I already knew what it said. I wasn't studying it. If I went to a big book study, how many of y'all go to a big book study, they read 2 paragraphs and then somebody's talking about their neighbor? You're like, now how did that happen? I swear to God. And the other thing is you look at the chairperson, you go, oh, come on, grow some. Tell him to shut it down. Get it back on track. You big old politically correct individual over there. Oh, I digress. So one of the things, though, that what this whole deal is about is I misunderstood the disease of alcoholism. See, I thought that once you took away the alcohol, I loved the fellowship so much, I had so much fun. That was my problem, not selfishness and self-centeredness. Now, I met Charlie 6 months into sobriety. I was married to Joe by then, right? Remember, he moved in within about 20 minutes. We women are powerful. Oh, yeah. And so he was, we ended up being married for 20 years. And what ended up happening, I met Charlie. He was 6 months sober. Remember, he's less than me. I was a year. And he was so funny in the meeting. I leaned over to Joe and said, oh, my God, we got to meet this guy. And next thing you know, we all became fast friends. Now, I'm telling you, I'm selfish and self-centered, but I didn't get that. I thought alcohol was my problem, and I was only selfish and self-centered when I drank. But when I get sober, I open the door for you. I mean, you better say thank you. And I'll let you in traffic. You better wave. See, I'll do the actions of a kind individual. But you better behave the way I need you to behave. Or else I'm like, oh, really? And see, I would look at Charlie and I would see clear selfishness and self-centeredness. You know what I'm saying? You can look around the rooms and you can go, oh, now Ron, woo, extreme example. Charlie, woo, extreme example. Me, not so much. See, that's what I did. So I worked a program based on the abstinence of alcohol. What does the book say? I become a victim of my delusion that I can wrestle with force, satisfaction, and happiness if I just manage well. I'm in constant collision with somebody or something, even though my motive is good. How many of you guys have ever put your kids in the car and looked at them and said, get in the car. We are going to go have some fun. You hear me? Everybody. And then about 2 minutes later, you're looking in the rearview mirror, looking at them thinking, well, they don't look very happy. Can't imagine why. Crazy mom. So what ended up happening is, I did AA for the abstinence of alcohol. AA takes care of the alcohol. Some people say this is a elementary program. There's other programs out there that are more up. Bull. Every answer to every problem I have is in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I am alcoholic. I may be an overeater. Well, I'm not. Charlie may be an overeater. But does he need OA? No. It's the same 12 steps, Charlie. It's another malady. Sex problems, another malady. Gambling, another malady. We don't need 9 different programs. Every answer to every... See, I suffer from alcoholism. I got a lot of stuff wrong with me. Kinda. Swallow and digest. But the truth of the matter is I'm working a program based on the abstinence of alcohol. You know what happens in about 3 years for that person? I really don't need Alcoholics Anonymous anymore. Matter of fact, I got lots of stuff. My business is booming. I got another baby. I got the gifts of sobriety. Gifts of sobriety took me out of Alcoholics Anonymous because I had a mortgage. Jesus. Who? Me? Have a mortgage? I had a mortgage. I had a husband. I had a kid. I had a career. They were traveling me all over the world. You know what? I love AA. I love the fellowship. What my husband says, Katie, let's go to church. I really didn't want to go to church. The book says, for if an alcoholic fails to enlarge his spiritual life. See, I thought there was a period there because I always had you reading the book to me in the meetings. I wasn't looking at my book at all after 3 years. So we end up going to this church. Oh, my God, I walked through the doors of this church. Woo! Non-denominational. I don't know what you guys have here in Alabama, but that non-denominational, they got the big old screens, and they got 6 lines up there, and you are singing, and you are rocking out, and the people were young, and I am thinking I'm sounding like Tina Turner. Whoa, 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 whoa! Woo! And I am just feeling the spirit, man, of church. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is it. This is what the book was talking about. I needed church. Joe and I at one point looked Amish. I even started wearing underwear. Oh, yeah. See, we blend. Man on page 73. Yep. The man on page 73 wants the world to see him a certain way when he knows deep down inside. See, I never really connected with those folks. But I tried to be one of them. Don't get me wrong, man. It's along with, not instead of. I could have been sitting on a temple in the ashram, if that's even right. You could go either way, right? Eastern, Western, it doesn't matter. But the bottom line says, I must stay close to him and perform his work well. To stay close to him, I got to get close to him. Well, I thought I had to get close to him through church. I'm sorry, that was not the way I found my understanding of God. The way I did was through the steps. See, I had to clear away the debris in 4 through 9. It's like the triage, right? When the guy comes in, the new guy comes in, man, we got to stop the bleeding. And then very quickly thereafter, my guys, if you're brand new sober, in 3 months, you're writing another inventory. See, we've just kind of woke you up. We're just starting the process. In your first year sober, you're going to probably write 3 inventories with me because that's how deep we got to go. I got to keep you active in those 10 steps, right? And then you stay in those disciplines. Mark used to say the 10th step is the most underutilized step in Alcoholics Anonymous. When was the last time you wrote inventory? Lay your own experience up against it. If it's been more than 6 months, darn, that's dangerous. See, because I get complacent. And then before you know it, prayer and meditation doesn't even feel good because I'm so blocked. Everything's just chatter, chatter, chatter. And then I'm in traffic. That's always a good indicator. Everybody pisses me off. Jesus, man, get going. You idiot behind me. Get off my butt. I'm just walk into an AA meeting looking around for all the people I don't like. Yeah. Don't you hate it when you walk in and they're at the coffee pot? So, it's very interesting. One of the things that I think is so important is what ended up happening is after about 3 years, Joe and I realized we were crazy. We needed to come back to Alcoholics Anonymous. No, we didn't drink. I have 6 years now. He had 12 years. We go down to the noon meeting. We walk in. I have that feeling immediately. Relief. Whew. I leaned over to Joe. I said, oh, my God, honey, we're home. He said, I know, Katie. And what I didn't realize, I'd love to say we skipped down the yellow brick road, man, but what I didn't realize is we started what we call meeting-based sobriety. I wasn't about to touch my book again. I wasn't about to get a sponsor. See, I got the relief I needed. See, meetings will give you relief, but they don't give you the freedom. They were never designed to take the place of the 12 steps. I guarantee Bill and Bob never knew that we'd have 8,000 jamborees this weekend, which what's a jamboree, by the way? I know, it's a roundup everywhere but Alabama. So I'm sure it has to do with one of those wars we had, which I don't care about. But So we did this thing called meeting-based sobriety, right? Relief, but not the freedom. So what I'd do is I'd go to that 5 o'clock meeting, and I'd get relief until the next day I needed another meeting because I got to get the relief. But I was never getting connected to the power to get the freedom. I was doing Bible study fellowship, man. I was doing everything. Boy, did I not fit in there. And, 4 years Bible study fellowship. I remember I put my daughter in Christian school because that's what we were going to do, right? Don't get me wrong, man. Jesus and I, number one. But what I got out of this deal is I asked April one time, I said, honey, was Jesus a Jew or a Gentile? Yeah. Good question. She's like, Mother, you have been in Bible study fellowship for 4 years. You should know that. Well, I don't. See, because I was trying to get the knowledge of God. God is experiential. Experiential. Oh. So, it says, and this is what I didn't get, guys, on page 25. See, I'm stark raving sober now. Whew! I hadn't written inventory. I hadn't done a 10-step. My prayer and meditation sucked, and I'm sponsoring people like a life coach. You know what I'm saying? You're coming to me with problems, and I'm solving them. And so, and I guarantee that person's in the room. So, page 25 says, if you are as serious alcoholic as we were, we believe there is no middle-of-the-road solution. That's where the term middle of the road comes from. I prefer to call it meeting-based sobriety because I didn't know I hitched my wagon to middle-of-the-road sobriety. It says, if we were in a position where life was becoming impossible, and if we had passed into the region from which there is no return from human aid, we had but two alternatives. One was to go on to the bitter end, blotting out our consciousness of our intolerable situation as best we could, and the other was to accept spiritual help. I guarantee there is someone sitting in this room with an intolerable situation. It also says, a lot of people say God's either everything or he's nothing. What's the sentence before that? A self-imposed crisis. We could not postpone or evade. I am running the show. I am causing the problems. They're not coming at me. They're coming from me. See, I'm so self-centered. I'm missing so many filters. I think you're doing that look because you're doing it to me. I don't know what's going on with you. I think I read minds. Well, I do. I have read my husband's mind every day. But the truth of the matter is do you see what I'm saying? I don't think too much of myself or too little of myself. All I think about is me. Period. See, I'm either self-righteous or self-pity. I'm still in self. I cannot like you, do inventory, turn it into self-pity, still thinking about me. God says I can't help you when you're in the way. You got to get out the way. How do we get out the way? Bloodied knuckles, man. Bloodied knuckles. And so it says, I always ran this whole deal. I love this part. We were slogan slingers, man. You had to be a slogan slinger. And I could slogan sling to you, but when I had a real problem, don't slogan sling to me. I got a real problem. And somebody would come at me and go, I love this one. This is really somebody who's not read the first 164 pages. Acceptance. Acceptance is the key. Everybody can quote that page. That's a person who's really not a big studier of the book, trust me. Because, see, what you're telling me to do is work the promises and hope the steps come true. See, you've given it to me backwards, so stop it. Give me the step work, and then I will have the experience, right? Yes, acceptance is the key. It's a beautiful thing. But when I'm having a crisis and I'm driven, that doesn't touch me. Matter of fact, makes me want to punch you in the face. You know what I'm saying? I am a kind of personality. The way self manifests for me, man, you got to keep me on a short chain. You know what I'm saying? I'm that dog that you're walking constantly tugging. I'm not the little chihuahua that just, Zoo! I am tight chain gal. Well, let me just tell you, fast forward, my husband gets sick. He gets very, very sick. And they tell me all of a sudden his psychiatrist says something's organic in his brain. Well, once again, I'm not very educated. I don't know what that means. I think of pot. I'm like, what? Has he got like some weed growing up there or something, And he says organic means something's growing. I'm a little on the right track, right? And so I said, well, what do you want to do? He goes, well, we're going to have some testing. What kind of testing? He goes, we need to have some serious testing at the hospital. We have catastrophic insurance. I'm self-employed. He's self-employed. We got big problems. Well, somebody at my really sick meeting I used to go to, and I got to go to a sick meeting. See, I can't go to a meeting with solution. You people bother me. So I'm going to find the sickest AA meeting out there, and they're out there. Oh, I was an active member of the sickest meeting. Very darn proud of it, too. And I went 5 days a week, right? I mean, and it never grew. That's always how you can tell they're kind of sick. But never grew. And one of my girlfriends says, Katie, you ought to go become a bus driver. I'm a fitness professional, right? My schedule's flexible. She said, if you become a bus driver, you get an instant HMO. Well, see, I'm managing, right? Sounds like a good plan. I go down there. I become a bus driver for my neighborhood, which is very upper middle class. Trust me. I mean, I am not over in the Watts in L.A. I am driving a school bus, and I cannot believe I'm driving a bus. Okay, I am someone who makes a lot of money, and now I'm in a servant position in untreated alcoholism, stark raving sober. Looking at those kids. See, this was my life. Hey, you. Hands, let me see them. Okay, keep them up. Yeah, that's a cute little girl sitting next to you. Keep those hands up. You got it? Yeah, I know what's going on over in that action now. So I tell Joe, I say, Joe, when we go, I told him, I said, I was expecting, this is how self-centered I am. I could have cared less about that school district. I love the kids, but I could have cared less about what their parents thought about me. By God, my husband's getting his brain scanned because something's wrong with him. I'm in and out of this job. See, that's what I do. You hurt, threaten, or interfere, and I operate on my ideas. So I go down there, I get this bus job. They need me, right? This bus job needs me. They've invested hours to get me employed. I don't care. Once Joe gets his head scanned, I'm out of here. They're not going to like me, but so what? Right? I'm not hurting anybody. And so we end up, I tell Joe, I said, we're going to the emergency room. The doctor said, that's how we can get your head scanned. So I said, when we go down there, he said, they're going to run you through these series of tests. They're going to tell you to touch your nose. So you be sure and touch your elbow. When they tell you touch your elbow, you touch your nose. You know, we're getting your head scanned, right? Because that's how I am. I'm running the show. I am the actor. I am the director. I am arranging the lights. We walk in there, in walks the doc, and this doc was just had an attitude. I got old ideas about doctors. Mr. Know-It-All, Mr. Big Brain. And he goes, so you think there's something in his head? I go, oh, no, I know there's something in his head. And I said, we just need to have a CAT scan. He goes, oh, really? Like I'm going to tell him his job. And he goes, Joe, you know what? He goes, do me a favor, touch your nose. And Joe, I swear to God, he goes like this. I'm like, oh, my God. You're ruining the test. Touch your elbow. He touches his elbow. And I'm thinking plan B, knock the doc out, put the white coat on, shove him in the tube myself, hit all the buttons, I don't care. We're getting a scan of that head. And the doc says, he finally says, Joe, what's 2 + 2? And Joe says, I don't know. And the doc says, you know what, we're going to go ahead and scan your head. I could have saved you 25 minutes there, dumb, but, whatever. And so he comes in there, and I'm not kidding you, 20 minutes later, I will never forget this. He comes back out, he puts his hand, the doc puts his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, my God, he has a gigantic tumor in his brain. He says it's huge. And I remembered my very first thought, guys, was I'm going to be driving this damn bus forever. See, that's the level of self-centeredness we suffer from. My first thought was not about my husband. I'd love for it to say that yours would be. It won't be. Not when you hurt, threaten, or interfere. It's going to somehow circle back to me. No, I didn't say to my husband, oh, well, isn't that just great, honey? Now I'm going to be driving that stupid bus forever. Of course I didn't say that. I laid there and cried with him. We were very scared. And what ended up happening from that point on, guys, I ended up driving that school bus for 3 years. I was stark raving crazy. I was stark raving sober. And I'm here to tell you, I was absolutely out of my mind on that bus. at one point there's this place where there's these 2 dips, right? You can take these 2 dips really fast. There's 5 little boys in the back of my bus. I always made sure it was boys. And come on, Miss Kate, fly over those humps. I'm like, you know what? I'm looking around. I'm thinking, okay, get back there. And right when you fly over those humps, man, you gotta come to this instant stop, right? And so I said, okay, guys, get ready. I had a gas bus. They really go fast. Forget diesel, man. Gas flies. I gas in. Boom, man, we take off. We go airborne. And all of a sudden, when we come down, the back end of the bus goes down and it goes, poof. And it's just dead silent. And the kids are like this. And I mean, they have flown. They're like, woo, And we all get out. We go to the back of the bus. I have blown all 4 valve stems off the back end of that bus. Yeah. And those kids were like rats on a sinking ship. Man, they were gone. And I'm standing there, and I swear to God, I get on the radio. Yeah, turtle bus to base. Yeah, this base. Listen, man, guys, I got a big problem. It looks like all 4 of my valve stems just blew off the back end of my bus. Well, the big boss always has the radio on him. He goes, what? I said, yeah, man, I got no idea what happened. So the guy comes to look at the bus, right? And because I ain't going anywhere, right? I mean, that thing is shut down. And the guy looks up the hill, and he looks at me. He says, you don't know what happened? I went, nope. See, there's that moment in life where I'm going to lie. You hurt, threaten, or interfere with anything of mine. And I'm going to lie because I can't lose this job. My husband has a brain tumor. I need the insurance. And the guy looked at me and said, okay. Well, what ends up happening, guys, is I'm going to fast forward through this deal. I could stay here for another 2 days, but obviously I can't. So my husband ends up convincing a lot of doctors this tumor was supposed to kill him. And it's pretty devastating. The AA community came around and they start to do the surgery on him, and they find out the tumor is benign. It was unbelievable. The doctors couldn't believe it. And my husband's going to live. Now, he's got pretty good brain damage, but he doesn't have any physical damage. But he's definitely changed. But what I didn't realize is, you see that line says, for if an alcoholic fails to enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, work, get me unblocked, help me stay close to him, and help other drunks, I cannot handle certain trials and low spots ahead, right? I am in deep doo-doo. So is Joe. We are in untreated alcoholism. Meetings won't save me. And my husband ends up convincing some doctors to give him some pain meds. He doesn't need them. And the next thing you know, he dies of a heroin overdose. 23 years sober. See what I'm saying? See, we can sit in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and never know how vulnerable we are to this disease because we think we're safe and protected. We're not. You almost lost me. Thank God Charlie bailed my ass out. He pulls me along to go see Mark Houston. The last person I want to go to is a big book study. I mean, I am like a wet cat in that car. I am telling you, and it's wet. It is raining, Caliche Road. I don't want to be here. Mark's bugging me. Mark takes a big old hit off that cigarette. I'm thinking, who is this guy? Truth of the matter is God's constantly sending me help. But I got a huge ego. I can't hear or see anything. And what I didn't realize, see guys, what ends up happening, we're sitting in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. You hadn't written inventory, be careful. You haven't called your sponsor or don't have one, oh my God. See, and then all of a sudden you break a tooth, something simple. You go down to the doctor, right, the dentist. He says you're going to need Vicodin. You know what? I am going to need some Vicodin. Thank God somebody sees that's going to hurt a little bit. Right? Because the disease is just dying for it. And the next thing you know, you are scheduling more dental surgery. And you go out on pills. And I love this. Pills were never my thing. Disease does not care. See, you got the malady, it triggers the allergy. Doesn't matter. You are safe and protected when you are working these steps. God makes that medicine work as medicine. And one of the things I can tell you guys is that I had no idea the dangerous area I was in. 18 months I was in those bedevilments. 18 months I was in such a dark room in my apartment. My life was over. My husband was dead. I start dating Charlie Parker. He's my best friend. He's bugging the crap out of me. Everything about him won't change. He will not become Joe. He was supposed to become Joe. I have a vision of what my life should look like. And I'm in those dark rooms. My son's opening the door. Shut the door! Jesus! I am absolutely crazy. I have no idea. I end up reaching out to this chick, and I said, I need help so bad. And little did I know she was in untreated alcoholism herself. She had 22 years. And I am dying. And she was so on top of it. She literally said, Katie, my ego took me into the book because you were going to die. I didn't even know what I was looking for. But she said to me, listen, I told her about Joe, and she said, I want you to read 60 to 63. And I thought, well, surely that must be the part of the book that says some of us have it harder than others. That's got to be in there somewhere. And I opened it up to page 62, where it says selfishness and self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our trouble. And I called her back. I just told her all my heartache. It'd been 18 months since he's been dead. I opened it, I said, that bitch. Forgive me for cussing, but it's that effective. I called her up. I said, what the heck? What are you trying to tell me? Selfishness is my problem? She said, Katie, there's a fine line between sorrow and self-pity. And you've drifted into it. And I'm going to do everything in my power to help you. But you've got to let me help you. And from that day on, I'm telling you what, I had the most spiritual awakening. Remember, a moment of clarity is of no value if it's not followed up by action. Because all it will be the relief. See, I need the freedom. I don't need the relief. And what ended up happening, guys, we got into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Oh, my God, I sponsor half the country, it feels like. I am knee-deep. I work a fundamental basic AA program. I've never been happier. So if you're not in the book, get in the book. And if you're in the book, I'll see you on the firing lines. Thank you.